Good day. The YMCA education series is free and open to the public, so we encourage you to invite your friends and family to join us on all these different topics we talk about, 6 to 8 of these a month. This program will last about an hour. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box. We'll try to get to it if we can. Otherwise, we'll save the questions till the end, and Virginia will be able to address them at that time. Thank you again for joining us this morning or today. I would now like to introduce to you our speaker, Virginia Trux. Virginia Trux is a senior real estate specialist who enjoys working with boomers, retirees, and downsizers. With a history of solid customer service and out-of-the-box thinking, Virginia is hired for her results. She's going to talk to us today about taking the guesswork out of listing your home. And if you've thinking about downsizing at all, you're going to want to pay attention to today's presentation. So if it's normal, if you've answered that, we all don't know about this, but Virginia's going to talk us through the whole process and all the paperwork required and everything like that today. So welcome, Virginia.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, first off, and thank you, Pam. Also, thank you, YMCA, not only for hosting this and the Yes series, which I enjoy, but also just for all that you do. YMCA is such a great resource, so much appreciated. So taking the guesswork, let me first just introduce, Pam already introduced me, so I'll kind of skip through this, but yes, I am a senior real estate specialist. I'm on the Glenview Chamber Board and active in the Northbrook Chamber. I grew up in Winnetka and raised my daughters in Glenview. And I actually, at the YMCA, I learned to swim here, so it's fun. Meet the team. I have Vince, well, myself, and then Vince joined my team. He was the president of my Rotary Club. So it was kind of fun. I knew that he had a heart of service above self. And he's currently moved his parents and now building a home for them. And Jenny is also on my team. She's my transaction coordinator. And she used to work with Jones Lang LaSalle, managing a bunch of money and projects, et cetera. And now she just manages me and her 2 daughters, her dog, and her husband in Glenview. So, selling your home. So if we're thinking about selling, or if you're looking to sell your home, everybody here has then probably bought a home, but selling a home, it changes, the process changes, the industry evolves. And so I'm here to kind of talk you through the paperwork and the process and stuff like that. So jump in if you have any questions, and I'm here to make it easier. So let's break it down. We're going to go over the listing agreement, the disclosures, industry jargon, and market strategy. So the listing agreement, the kitchen is the center of the home, let's say, and the listing agreement is the center of every transaction. So every brokerage has one, and they might tweak it from company to company, but it's the document that lays out the price, the timing. This is a sample. The price, the timing, how a broker is going to work to sell your home, and what your duties and responsibilities are as a seller. So let's talk about brokerage, right? So when you list your home, you are hiring a brokerage and designating a broker. So for many people, it's one of the largest processes and financial decisions that you'll go through. So who you work with does matter. So in a brokerage, what are you looking for? I personally feel like you're looking for market share, right? The market share, brokerage who's already actively working with buyers and sellers in your market. And innovation, are they the front line? Are they leading the way? And in a broker or a realtor, what are you looking for? I think you're looking for experience. You're looking for a full-time broker, maybe not a part-time. Think of it as a heart surgeon. Do you want somebody who's doing surgery once a quarter or once a week? So just something to keep in mind. So experience, network of resources. I think that's also very important, from attorneys to move managers, painters, handymen, people to get your property ready, and people that can just help facilitate that move and make it seamless. Trust. Who are you working with? Do they have authenticity? Do they have integrity? And do you personally trust them? Do you have that feel and that connection with them? I think that that's important too. So the next thing we're going to commission. Not everybody understands this, so I just want to take the mystery out of commission, right? Standard, well, let me just say that standard is 6%. Not everybody charges 6% commission, and maybe not everybody should, but standard is 6%, and that is divided. 3% goes to the list side. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat, so I have some water. So excuse me. 1 second, but 6%, 3% goes to the list side, and then 3% goes to the buy side. And within that list side or buy side, it's divided again between the brokerage and the broker. So actually that standard 6% is shared 4 ways within the transaction. Make sense? Okay. Yes, we are going to talk about term. So the term of your listing. Standard term is 1 year, and it's not likely that your property is going to stay on the market 1 year. For example, in Northbrook, October closed properties, average days on market was 61 days on market. So not quite a year at all. So you don't have to fear that time. But let me just share though that market time, make sure you check with your broker, because markets are super local. So while Northbrook had a 61-day average days on market, your subdivision could have had an 11 days on market. So it varies from subdivision to street to neighborhood to town. So just be sure to ask your broker so that you can know what to expect about the average days on market in your situation. Pricing. So let me just say that brokers do pricing differently. In my experience, this should be the last piece of the puzzle. For example, if I had met somebody in April to talk to them about listing their home and gave them a price back in April, but we didn't go to the market until August, the pricing that I had provided back in April would have been obsolete, right? Because our markets, the real estate market, shifted end of May, beginning of June. They started to pull back a little bit. And then we've had a couple of price increases, not pricing increases, excuse me. What am I trying to say? It's the interest rate increase. And we're coming up on another one as well. So that all plays a factor. I think that it's important to go up to the last minute. We like to pull market data right the day before. So like I said, you have up to the minute pricing, and that way it ensures that we're most competitive, right? We look at solds for history and we look at actives for strategy. So pulling up right at the last minute before you go live is important. So are there any questions so far, Pam, on any either broker, brokerage, commissions, terms, or pricing? And you're going to have to tell me because I can't see.
No, we're good.
Okay, then I'm going to keep going. Let's talk for a second about dual agency and no agency. So dual agency, when you sign a listing agreement, right, that broker is your agent, is working for you and on your behalf. So dual agency means that the broker is representing both parties in the same single transaction. So that means that dual agency, they can no longer guide the seller, and the broker can no longer guide the buyer. They kind of become what's called a transaction coordinator. And they're just in the middle of that transaction. No agency is a little bit different. The buyer has no agency representation. So the broker can still guide the seller, right? Still has to do some of the duties of a buying broker, but they can still guide their seller, which is the biggest part, I feel. I don't like to do dual agency. I don't like to do dual agency. It's much simpler, more streamlined, more clear. when you're just representing one side of a transaction, but just know the duties and responsibilities of your broker in regular agency as well as dual agency. Any questions on that? Okay, then we're going to go to disclosures. So these don't change. Like I said, the listing agreement kind of changes maybe a little bit broker to broker. These are state forms, and the disclosures don't change really at all. So the first one is the residential real property disclosure. Let me just kind of show you. It's a long document, as you can see up on the screen, right? And it talks to you about, is there a leak in the roof, right? Are there broken window panes? Is there an ice maker that's as is, right? But the document lets the buyer know about the house and all of its systems in it, basically. And when you're listing your home, there's two schools of thought. So some people, sellers, like to have an inspection of their home prior to listing it. But then you have pages of information that you either have to disclose or you need to correct. So it varies, but it can also help you get your property ready for the market. So it's kind of a case by case. It's case by case. The next big one up on your screen is lead-based paint. So any housing built before 78 potentially could contain lead. So there's a booklet. This is the booklet that goes with the disclosure, and those are handed out. Do you have any knowledge? Do you, the seller, have any knowledge or any records with regard to lead-based paint? So anybody before 78, you need to sign off on that disclosure. And sometimes, I mean, I think it may vary from brokerage to brokerage, but I have my sellers sign off on it just that they've seen it and they've acknowledged it, not necessarily that their home is purchased before 78 or built before 78, but that they acknowledge the lead-based paint disclosure. What's the next one? Radon. So radon, radon is a gas. And it is very difficult to detect. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it can be deadly. So I'm just going, this is the booklet that sellers are handed before they fill out the form. And it also asks if there are any records or if the seller has any knowledge. You know, actually there's radon in the area. So when you're purchasing a home, for sure, I suggest that you test for radon. But when you're selling your home, and if there's a high radon, your buyer opts to do a radon test and it comes in high, then remediation. It's not that difficult to do. I mean, it's not scary. It's doable and done each and every week. But remediation costs, I think, somewhere from, I want to say 800 to about 1,500, depending upon size. And it's just PVC piping that is installed that allows this gas to escape outside of your home. So it's not staying inside of your home, which is a really good thing. Any questions on any of those? On disclosures. So there's the three main, right? Real property, lead, and radon. So then let's move on to jargon. So this, I know, I was thinking about putting this slide earlier. Brokers. So in the past, we've been called agents. And recently we switched over. So agents are now called brokers. Everybody's a broker in our area. So a broker is somebody who has taken classes and passed a real estate test that is not easy to help others purchase, sell, or rent real estate. The managing broker has to take, the managing broker has to take in a whole nother element. I want to say it's a different grouping of questions, an additional unit to that test, and then they become a managing broker. Then the broker who leads the office is called a designated managing broker, just so that you have all the players. So as an agent or somebody who just sells, they're a broker, and then a managing broker is the additional part of the test, and then the designated managing broker. Also, something really important to know is the realtor. So not every broker or agent, formerly agent, is a realtor. In order to be a realtor, you need to be a member of the National Association of Realtors. And in addition to that, you have to subscribe to a code of ethics. So it's a different, you're held basically to a different standard as a realtor. So that's super important. What else do we have? So your listing, and where does your listing go? Here are the different systems. So the multiple listing service is the main MLS that we all know about. It's the public MLS that feeds out to all this little spider sites, which is kind of, I'm just trying to think of when you go into the computer and go live, you'll see that it shows up in lots of different places, lots of different little spider sites. And I'm trying to think of examples of that, and I can maybe circle back to that. But the private listing network. So the private listing network it was recently established, I think within the last maybe 3-4 years, 5 years. And the private listing is used in a couple of different ways. Sometimes if a seller and a broker don't agree on price, they can go out to the private listing network and they kind of float a price, or they will put it into the private listing network while they're preparing the house just to kind of create a buzz. Sometimes they put it out there just to see if there's a big demand for a property like that. So it's used in a number of different ways. And then the pocket listing. Pocket listing is truly a pocket listing when you have a signed agreement with the seller and it's not anywhere yet. You are literally getting painters or getting different resources. And it's in your pocket. So the three systems, the MLS, the PLN, and then a pocket listing, excuse me. So what's next? Market strategy. So this is the secret sauce between broker and broker. It's what makes each broker different. And it's how a broker will achieve maximum exposure for your property. It's also how you're going to achieve the highest price in the shortest amount of time, which is always the goal. So the market strategy is kind of a tapestry. It's an art and a science, and how they're woven together kind of makes each broker different. So some brokers have different experience. They have a degree in marketing, or some might be super involved in the community. Some are involved in different organizations that everybody has kind of a different experience and a different background, and they bring a different skill set to the table. So it's important to cast a wide net, casting the widest net, and having lots of different, print, digital, events. There's lots of different ways for marketing, but it's definitely what makes each broker different. So I know I do these quickly, but the recap of kind of what we talked about, I like for this to also be a Q&A, just because it's taking the guesswork out of paperwork. And I think some people are intimidated by that, and I want to make sure that we can take that away. So we talked about the listing agreement, right? The main agreement, and we talked about the disclosures that come with that. Talked a little bit about industry jargon, and we just touched on market strategy. So I wanted just to start with questions about the listing process, listing agreement, the disclosures. Any questions that somebody might have?
I think there was a question of, do they still test for mold?
So that is a good question. Mold came onto the scene after, I think, lead-based paint, right? Mold's very tricky though, because there's so many different spores and so many different varieties that it couldn't really be, no, you can test for mold. You can test for mold. You can say that there's mold or a black substance, mold-like substance, but unless you test for it, you don't know it. And it's not regulated. So that's why there's no longer a disclosure. We used to have a disclosure right after the lead-based paint and before radon became a popular disclosure, but it still does pop up in inspections, and it's important obviously to address it, but no, it's not as standardized, I shall say, as radon or lead-based paint. So anything else? You guys, there's got to be questions, process questions, timing questions, paperwork. More specifically on the listing agreement, if you'd like. Okay.
Well, if you have any questions, feel free to, you see Virginia's information right there. You can also get it from me. Yeah. Any other questions or anything? Well, we'll have a short talk today.
Short.
But Virginia will be here to talk to us again, I'm sure. And like I said, if there's any questions, we can put you in touch with Virginia. Other than that, we're going to conclude. Awesome. All right, so this concludes our YMCA Education Series presentation. On behalf of the YMCA and YS, we thank you for participating and supporting organizations like this. Special thank you to Virginia and Trux at Properties for speaking with us today. Programs like this are free and open to the public. We encourage you to check us out at our website at www.nsymca.org. Our next presentation is tomorrow morning at 9:15, Understanding Medicaid and How to Protect your assets legally. So we'll see that at 9:15 tomorrow morning with Matt Merkel. Otherwise, we'll talk to Virginia, I'm sure, soon.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.